Another demo on this illustration project. This would be one where if you were going to do an illustration based off like a photographic portrait of someone, say you've taken a picture of a family member, you want to do a celebrity or something. So this is how one way I would approach this. Some of the videos I have up for you in this week's folder also deal with that. You can watch those and get a good idea for an approach, but I just want to kind of show you my approach for a particular photo. So again, I've got my photo downloaded and saved. I'm going to go to place. And here's the photo I'm going to use of President Lincoln. So I'm going to click and drag that out to put it on the page. Oops, zoomed in a little crazy. And I'm going to scale that up. And I'm going to, again, it's on layer 1. I'm going to lock that so I can't accidentally grab it. And then I'm going to create a new layer to draw on. I'm going to get my pen tool. I'm going to change the stroke color to something I can see really good against this black and white photo and hit OK. Now what I want to do is, a lot of it comes down to whether you get a photo that's good or not. So this photo had a lot of detail in it. It's got a lot of good contrast. That's going to make it easier for me to do. Now other people do this different ways, but I'm going to start with, for this one, the eyes typically, because if you can nail the eyes and the nose and the mouth of a person you're doing a portrait of, typically the rest of it falls into place. But if you can't get the eyes and the nose and the mouth right, then you can end up with a portrait that doesn't look anything like the person it's meant to be. So I like to zoom in and start with the eyes. The way I'm going to work is I'm going to go in and draw all the darkest shapes. Okay, look at these darkest shadows, and those are shapes to me that help to define the way he looks. I'm get my pen tool, and again you can zoom up all the way, and I'm going to, I've got a fill on that I want to take off. So I'll go over here, click, and click no fill. But I'm just kind of following the shape as best as I can, right? And again, this is where knowing how to use the pen tool really helps, because it really can speed this up. So there's that shape, and then there's the shape under the eye. This lower lid there creates a fairly dark shape that we need, again, to help describe what that eye looks like. Now we have this top lid that's got a little bit of light, but the back of it's in shadow. So again, I'm going to stick with working with these back shadows. Now depending on the photo you're working from, it may be that the highlights are more prominent than the shadows, so you might want to start with highlights to create your portrait. Some of the videos, it shows them starting with the head shape, which is also another good approach. Again, I just kind of do what I feel like works best for me for this photo. And there's so much really good black shadows, darkest shadows in here, that I feel like that's going to make it easier for me. But as you can see, I'm just kind of going in and following the shape of these dark shadows. All right. There's a little bit of a dark shadow at the bottom of the eye. So I want to create that. Again, to give a little bit of shape to that lower eye. What I might want to do is make that stroke a little bit thinner too on everything, so I can see more what I'm doing. So I'm going to click and drag to select them all. And I'm going to make the stroke 0.25. And that's a little bit easier there, so I can see more of what's underneath. All right, so that doesn't look like much right now. But then what I can do is select all of those and make sure I get them all and make their stroke clear and make their fill black. Oh, I missed one here. So let's do the same. We'll make the stroke clear and the fill be black. So that kind of blends in with the photo underneath, so I can go in and turn off this. And so there I've got a good start to President's eye. Right? So then what I could go in and do is define all these shapes that are really kind of severe shadows and really help to define his face. And now I'm already just using black for the fill, but that's okay. I can switch that back, get a new fill color, and pick something else. So let's just get this lip here, or the upper lip. And again, I'm just trying to follow along the shapes captured in the photograph to kind of define all these. And again, you could take some stylistic interpretations with this. You don't have to necessarily strive for photorealism. If you want to kind of stylize things some, that's perfectly okay. Let's see, let's go ahead and grab this part of his nose here. And again, this is where the value of having good photo references come into play, because you get something to work with. So if you're going to take a picture and use it, make sure it's got plenty of information in it. So I'll select those three and give them a fill color of black. Here. Okay, and so what we end up with is we just do that. You know, I'm just going back and I'm going to start looking at all these darkest areas, and I'm going to start filling those in with just black. Now later on I'll go back and add some grays and some whites and some other values to kind of help build out this illustration. But what I basically end up with to start with is this. Okay, this is just a matter of going in and tracing all those areas that I feel like that are the shapes that really help define this portrait. And then I can turn that off. And so already that's an illustration of Abraham Lincoln. Now there's a lot more that we can do to it to give it more detail and more depth, but that might be a style that you're fine with too. Okay, but that really is all I did was I got a good photo and I went in and traced those shapes. Let me select them all and just kind of show you what shapes I'm using here. So there's, I mean, it's a lot of stuff, right? But you build things together, and you just kind of create more and more detail. And so these are the shapes that are used to create the illustration. And then I can select them all and make them any color I want to later on when I get to the color portion of the illustration. All right, so that's just a second way I would approach this project. And there are more, and like I said, some of those YouTube videos are pretty good. They'll take you through the process of creating a portrait from a photo. So be sure and watch those and see if maybe that is helpful. All right, thanks, y'all.